Welcome to Solo Travel Adventures. I'm Cheryl S., your host and travel coach for Christian women. Welcome to today's episode. Have you ever noticed when you come back from a trip feeling different or changed somehow? I want to talk today about how that is possible and why researchers and a therapist believe travel can make a difference. So have you ever returned from a trip that really had an impact on you and you felt different? You approached things differently. You looked at things differently. Well, how people change more after a travel or a trip than therapy, well, there's a reason for that. Now, I'm not saying therapy is wrong and you should discount any of it. Therapy can be very important depending on your situation or what you might be going through. But researchers have noticed a strange pattern. Major life shifts often happen not so much after years of therapy, but often after one travel experience, a strong travel experience. So people will come back from a trip with profound revelation about their lives, often prompting job changes, ending relationships that didn't serve them, moving maybe, or finally starting something they've postponed most of their life. And so it gives them this fresh perspective is what I'm seeing. And there's just so much that can happen when you travel that really does change your perspective. I've noticed that in myself, coming back, especially after walking the Camino and just noticing the different pace of life over there in Europe compared to the US, and just how I wanted to capture that. And so when I did return, I did make a priority of making sure that I was creating my days and my time and my schedule how I desired. And so I can say that after that trip, that is something positive that came out of it. I decided to start, saying no to things that would interfere with sort of the crafting of how I wanted my day to look. For example, not taking on too much work, not allowing things to interfere with. I have a morning routine that I love so much, and I protect that. And so I created a work-life balance, so to speak, around that. And I will have to say that was definitely when I came back from walking the Camino, I made that a priority because I saw, there was that shift that I noticed when I was traveling. So I had a revelation about my life, and, it kind of snowballed with some other things as well. So in psychology terms, here's why this happens. So people come back and they're all changed, not just physically. You might see that, especially if someone has gone to the beach, they have this glow, they are refreshed, hopefully. But in psychology terms, when people come back and they make these major life shifts, they believe that it's because travel breaks the illusion that their current life is the only possibility. They see other possibilities. They realize there's other things they could be doing that is more fulfilling. So therapy works with words, and, you might have a therapist that likes to do role-playing scenarios, whereas travel works directly with experience. And experiences are really in our brains, I think, really can shape how we approach life. Secondly, travel forces your brain out of autopilot. So you're being thrown into new cultures, new environments, new sites, new language, new food, and your nervous system can't rely on your old patterns or scripts. So decisions are happening really fast, and they're based on new information, not your old patterns of thinking. One thing I love about travel is that it does take me out of this autopilot. Often we may drive to work and wonder how we got there because we were on such autopilot and not really being in the moment, where I feel travel keeps you in the moment. And really, you have to, especially if you're experiencing new things. So this is going to create, just different brain synapses and wiring when we're doing new things and not relying on the old information that we have. And thirdly, travel temporarily removes your current social roles. For example, mom, partner, employee, daughter, whatever your social roles are in your everyday life. On the road, these labels are dropped. You can be whomever you want to be and finally turn and tune into your real desires. Therapists note that a loss of identity pressure allows people to hear what their inner self is saying and not what is expected of them. And so this shift can also kind of help change your brain networks linked to this identity thing. So when we stop looking at our old self, old stories, we stop rehearsing the same version of ourselves. And so we have this new context of us. And so there's a major shift that even is happening in our brains when, travel removes those titles, those social titles that we often carry around with us. I mean, you could basically reinvent yourself when you're traveling. You can be whomever you want. You could even make up a story if you wanted, especially if you're traveling solo. Maybe you make up this grand story that you're meeting, somebody. Fourthly, data shows that insight gained during travel integrates faster in your life because your body is learning through movement and emotions, not just through reflections. So therapy helps to explain who we are and focuses more on sort of our past events, why we are the way we are, right? Thinking about mother, father, any kind of past issues do shape us for sure. Whereas travel shows us who we could be. And so it doesn't, travel, as long as we're not ruminating on sort of our past, that travel keeps you, as I mentioned earlier, keeps you in the present moment. And so it really could show you a new side of you and who you could be, who you want to be. That's the realization that travelers experience that often causes them to change their lives. So again, therapy is wonderful. I've been to a therapist many times throughout my life, off and on, depending on the season I've been in. And it has been helpful in many ways. But I have found once I've gotten over some of those big hurdles in therapy, that travel has actually propelled me even further in providing all these reasons, more brain kind of reasons of why travel can, come back and change your life. You kind of had those revelations about something that could be changed, something new. You have a new perspective for sure on your life, and travel really does do that. And it gives you also, in my opinion, it gives you the space and opportunity to kind of heal from anything and move past it. A lot of times we get such, as I mentioned earlier, on this autopilot kind of, trajectory, right? And so it pulls you out of, I said, point number 2, it pulls your brain out of that autopilot, that old way of thinking, and also gives you the space to just be and to possibly heal and reflect on just how you want to, what you want to become and how you want to change yourself. Have you ever noticed that there was one trip that you came back from that just changed you in some way? Did it shift your direction more than the years of just thinking about changing? We all, in the beginning of the year, I think about these goals that we set, these things that we want to do with our lives to change our lives, whether it's a new habit or try something new or become something new. And we often sit and spend so much time thinking about these changes and trying in our own determination and will to try to accomplish it, when often a very intentional trip could move that needle further than just thinking about it. So I want you to think, is that you? Do you want to move the needle on changing the way you think? Do you feel like you want to actually change your life in some way? Have you tried using travel intentionally for that reason? Now, some of this will happen just automatically, and your brain will have to make a shift. But there's also components where if you are also intentional about your travel, where you go, it could accelerate some of these changes that happen in your brain and in your physiology, your body as well. And so I encourage you, if you have not considered a solo trip for this year, that is something that you will do for yourself. It will be life-changing. And I know we always say that, and it doesn't always turn out to be like unicorns and rainbows, kind of a happy ending changes. Sometimes those changes could just make you realize something that's not working in your life at home and make that slight change. Or you could fall in love with that place that you just want to travel. And maybe you do want to actually move, maybe not to that place, but it got you thinking about why are you stuck in this one place, and opens up all these doors of opportunity maybe for you. So think about that. But I'm also here to help with my coaching program. You can reach out to me, hello@CherylBeckEsch.com, and discuss a coaching program that I have, or go to my website at CherylBeckEsch.com and find out more about it. But I encourage you, I really want to see more women utilize solo travel, not just for the fun of it, but also to benefit, as I mentioned here on this episode, benefit mentally and maybe even spiritually for yourself. Sisters, get out there and have that solo adventure. Did this podcast inspire you to participate in a solo journey? Well, my hope is that all women 50 and up have the courage and opportunity to experience at least one solo trip in their lifetime. But maybe you're feeling stuck about trying it solo. With my one-on-one travel coaching program, I can help you have a transformative trip, especially for those who are needing healing. Go to my website, CherylBeckEsch.com, and check out the program. Travel is a wonderful vehicle to heal.